So yeah, we're on the CSX, the B&O. They call this, I think, the Metropolitan Corridor. It goes all the way from Washington up to Pittsburgh and Chicago, where it ties into the new water level route. They cleared this for double stacks, I think, like 2 decades ago, but the specific subdivision we're on now is the Cumberland subdivision. It starts in Brunswick, and it ends just outside of Cumberland, and where it becomes the Cumberland Terminal subdivision. And then on the other end, it becomes a metropolitan subdivision into Washington, and the old main line subdivision into Baltimore past Point of Rocks. So that's the stretch of railroad. It's pretty cool and epic.
Thank you for the context.
Yes. Hopefully that was clear. Probably not, but... Mark single levels.
Yeah. Still never been on a Mark bi-level. Still. The one Penn Line train I've been on, it was single levels. So.
I've been on Mark bi. Mark bi-levels are cool.
Are they like Amtrak bi-levels?
Kind of, yeah.
But they're not
commuter,
they're not gallery cars.
They're not gallery cars, no. They're more commuter oriented bi-levels. So the seats are more like the ones in here. Obviously a lot more of them are packed together.
Yeah. But I like gallery cars.
Gallery cars are weird,
cool.
But they're kind of like not the most efficient thing in the world.
No. I think they're cool.
Yeah,
they're not
true.
super efficient. Though.
Not super efficient, but cool. I think we're just gonna bypass Duffields. I would be surprised if we stopped there.
Unless there's one person getting off, possibly. That'll do it.
They wanted to make this river navigable for ships at some point. And by some point, I mean like the 1700s.
Yes, before railroads. And then they decided, no, this was better.
The Potomac Company, which is spelled weird before we could agree about how to spell this river's name. And that fell through, and eventually it became the C&O Canal, which was arguably obsolete within like the first 10 years of its existence because the railroad came through, and of course, the railroad and the canal had a big legal battle over who had the right to build along the Potomac River. And eventually it's like, well, you have to share it. And then eventually the B&O bought the canal because it didn't want anyone to buy the right-of-way and build a railroad directly parallel to their main line for basically most of its stretch. The PRR was going to buy the right-of-way for the C&O Canal, and then the B&O swooped in and bought it before they could.
Yeah, that makes sense. The Goose Creek Canal?
Yeah.
The Goose Creek Canal from Leesburg to Albany?
Yeah. They,
Didn't they run one ship?
They ran
ever?
one ship down that canal. The PRR wanted to weirdly build from Hagerstown to Cumberland. That was the first stretch they were going to build. And then I also think, the Western Maryland's kind of wanted to get into Potomac Yard, but I guess they looked at the canal, but it had already been bought by the B&O at that point. So their plan was they were going to cross up near Williamsport, and then I reckon they were going to have to go and buy the W&OD in order to get into Potomac Yard. That was their plan.
Wouldn't that have been nice?
They built a bridge. They built a bridge across at Williamsport, but it only ever served like a gravel company because the Western Maryland probably, I believe they ran out of money.
How unfortunate.
Because this was during the Gould years when that was being built, and after Gould failed about putting together his weird Transcon, all of those railroads were in just financial distress. So it just died. The plan died. I think the bridge abutments for that bridge are actually still there. If you go to Williamsport.
Williamsport, Maryland?
Yeah.
Where even is that?
South of Hagerstown.
Okay.
Southwest. It's funny because there's a town called Halfway between Hagerstown and Williamsport. It's halfway between those two places. There used to be a trolley line out there, Hagerstown to Frederick. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Died in the
Most of them.
They were originally going to build to Brunswick too, actually. I forget what street in Brunswick, but if you
Isn't
look,
it C Street?
it might
Or not
be.
C.
It's one
It's
of
the one that's insanely steep, right?
No, it's
Okay,
one that's
not
weirdly
C.
wide.
Well, C Street is both of those things,
It might be C Street.
but C Street's too steep for a trolley.
Yeah.
Is my guess, but
I forget.
maybe a different section.
Yeah, I forget what road.
Maybe it's C Avenue. I forget. I need to go back to Brunswick.
Yeah. They were gonna build a line down from. They had a branch to I think Boonesboro, Maryland. I think it was Boonesboro, and that was originally to go all the way down to Brunswick, but that never ended up getting built. But there is still a street in Brunswick. I forget which one that was widened for the Hagerstown Frederick to come down to.
Huh.
Now I'm second guessing myself. Was it Boonesboro, Brunswick?
Sounds right.
Jefferson. Was it the Jefferson branch or the Middletown branch? I forget. Let me look up a Hagerstown and Frederick map.
While he does that, this has been 6.5 minutes of uncut footage of
Hagerstown
railroad
and
explanation from Shortline 819. More than I could ever explain. So
No, it was Jefferson. They wanted to build out from Jefferson out Boonesboro.
Aren't they like right next to each other?
Kind of.
Kind of.
You have
Jefferson's
to cross
further
the
east.
Stockton Range.
I see.
Lies between the two.
I see.
Yeah, branched off of Bethesda and went to Georgetown. They were gonna go down to Fairfax Station.
Purple line to Fairfax? I'm kidding.
Well, if they do Purple Line to Fairfax, the idea is, I think for that, they're going to do the American Legion Bridge. We are stopping at Duffield.
Right.
Between 3 and 4, we can see Duffield now, rather.
Imagine getting on at Duffield's.
The B&O apparently reached D.C. before they reached out here. The B&O built to Washington, D.C. from Baltimore in 1835,
That makes sense.
but they only got to Martinsburg in like 1842, I think I said. And the B&O also had that branch down through Anacostia to the other side of where Alexandria, and they had a car ferry. There was actually a bridge there for a few years during World War II, like a temporary one. So yeah, the B&O had all these obsessions with trying to cross the Potomac River because the PRR owned the Long Bridge, and they didn't like using it, but it never happened because the B&O was kind of always not chronically short of money. Like, they never went bankrupt or anything, but they were not like super wealthy.
Yeah. They were just kind of like they were middle class railroad.
Yeah, that's the thing about being the first railroad to be built.
Yeah.
All the terminal space in all your cities is excellent, right? Like, Baltimore, Ohio has some of the best like terminal facilities in
Yes.
Chicago and Baltimore and Pittsburgh, but the lines between those, because no one knows what they're doing, is kind of garbage. And you're also typically working with not as much money, so
Yeah.
but it adds to the charm.
Yes.
So.
You know why they call it Duffield's?
No idea.
Because it's in the middle of
A field.
Duffield's. I don't know. I'm kidding. I'm sure there's a reason. I'm sure it's a name.
Apparently there were some small branches off the B&O up here that went to like some gravel mines that are
That
long
makes
dead.
sense. I know CSX has a line out to Charlestown, actually past Charlestown, but